turning on the TV in Afghanistan and reading about a school shooting at home, being in Iraq and reading about another active shooter walking into a movie theater, I wanted to be there. I would have done anything to have been there, but I wasn't there. So how could, not necessarily me, but somebody with the same skills as me maybe be there? You know, somebody walks in to do evil, and for evil to conquer, all it takes is good men to do nothing. But if there's good men that can do something, when those evil men walk in, it's just one person being like, "No, man, not today. You don't get to hurt anyone behind me, because I'm here. I'm prepared, and I'm trained, I'm equipped. And this is where your dream of doing evil ends, right here, because I'm here. I'm gonna put you on the ground, and that's the end of your story." So I'm Tim Kennedy. I am the founder of Sheepdog Response. I've been a Green Beret for 16 years. I'm a Master Sergeant in Special Forces. Before that, I was an 18 Bravo, which is a Special Forces Weapons Sergeant, Special Forces Sniper, Ranger School graduate, Sniper School graduate. And during my time while I was in the military, I fought professionally for the UFC, Strike Force, WEC, every major fighting organization that was out there. I have a variety of black belts and hosted shows on Discovery Channel, History Channel, and now I am trying to leverage all of that experience and everything that I've ever done into one mission, which is to preserve and protect human life. This is a scary world, and I've seen the worst of it, and I'm scared because there's things that are happening now that I've never seen before. When I grew up, the serial killer, I mean, that was evil, right? Like that was the personification, that was the embodiment of evil. And then everyone in my generation watched planes slam into buildings. And we're like, this is a different evil. I don't know what this evil is, but watch an American look back into a building, smoke and fire, and then look off an edge and have to decide, do I want to burn to death or do I want to jump to my death? I don't know, that's a tough decision. Like that's the kind of evil that should get you fired up, that should make your blood boil. Then we watch somebody take a rifle and walk into a school and start shooting kids. All right, then we watch a dude throw on a smoke mask, throw on a smoke bomb, and walk into a movie theater and start shooting everyday Americans for no reason. That's a different kind of evil. I don't know at what point, and it's tragic that it happened, that Americans realized that they had had it too good. At some point, they realized that they had taken their safety for granted because they never had to worry about their safety. Maybe it was 9/11. Maybe it was the school shootings. I don't know when it was that it finally snapped, where we were like, I'm not ready for this. I don't know what to do. I'm scared. Individual responsibility, that security and safety, that's your job. Nobody else is gonna do it for you. Those two things colliding created this movement of people wanting and needing to be prepared for whatever happens. I was an elite level fighter, and I was fortunate to be in elite units and serve alongside some of the most elite soldiers on the planet. And those two things didn't overlap often with many people. People were coming to me wanting knowledge and experience about how do those things overlap. So I was just trying to pass on, the little bit of knowledge that I had and to the people that were asking. But then the people that were asking told everybody else what it really looks like to be prepared, to be trained. And then they told other people, and then they told other people, and then they told other people. And now it's like, now it's a movement. This is not a militia, right? This is not we're going to weaponize people and go out and we're standing on every corner. That's not what this is. This is an idea. These are ideas that I don't own. And they're not ideas that I came up with. Like everybody owns freedom. Everybody owns their own right to their individual responsibility to protect themselves and their family. Like those aren't my ideas. What we do is we empower people and we give them a course. We give them a path. And on that path, they learn the things that they need to know to be able to protect and preserve human life. They learn what they need to do in this journey, in this mission, to reach that end state of where somebody comes in to do harm, they're in the way. And I know everybody imagines this Tim Kennedy looking guy, right? Like traps that come up to his ears and like chunky ears and maybe a little extra scar tissue around the eyes and maybe ogreish hands. None of our students look like that. Everybody that comes to these courses, this is a woman that drives a minivan, a preschool teacher who watched what happened in other schools. And she's like, that's never gonna happen at my school. That's never gonna happen to my kids. And they make a choice. And then they learn that they have to make millions of other little decisions to ultimately prepare for what may never happen, but could. All those millions of little decisions are gonna lead to success or failure in that moment. You might be there when that person comes in. You might hear that blood-curdling scream of fear, pain, and agony. You're not gonna rise to the occasion, you're gonna fall to your level of training. And if you're trained and you're prepared, you have all of your colleagues, all of your fellow associates standing behind you. They don't know what to do, they're not ready, but you are. And that's everybody in this course. Everybody that comes to these courses, the only commonality that they have is a desire to want to protect other people. And that's a powerful thing. Look around you. We're in a padded room, climate controlled, with a bunch of people that love each other and are collectively trying to get better, right? You're fucking dying on the mats. It does not get any more forgiving than this. There's no concrete, there's no asphalt, there's no broken glass. There's just everything that's led to this minute, all those millions of tiny little decisions. What did you drink? How much did you sleep? How hard have you been working? How much have you been training? Have you grappling? Have you been to judo, jiu-jitsu, boxing, shooting? All of those millions of little decisions are going to determine success right here. In reality, when you have to do these things, it's going to be in the worst imaginable conditions, not the best. So you have to be able to do this in the worst place at the worst time. You don't get to pick the when, the where, the who, the what, the why of these things happening, right? Some bad guy's, whatever his motivation is, he gets to choose why he's doing it. Wherever that's gonna happen, he gets to pick where that is. When it's gonna happen, he gets to pick when that is. Who it is, I don't get to pick who the bad guy is. What he's gonna use, that's also up to him. I just have to be ready for it. Like, I know this firsthand because I've been owned. I've been in Afghanistan with no bullets left, looking across the battlefield, seeing dead bodies, and trying to decide what body am I gonna crawl to try and recover some bullets. I've seen friends lose limbs. I've seen friends shot. I've been to more funerals than I could count. I don't wanna go anymore. I don't wanna lose any more friends. And I definitely don't want it to happen on American soil. So I know that this is what you have to do if you want to garner any kind of success. Success means that you win and they lose. However that happens.
If you think a bandage will stop bleeding, you are wrong. If you put a bandage on something that is bleeding, you are just trying to make it go away out of your eyesight. And that will not save anybody's life. Not even a little bit.
In this preserving and protecting human life mission, you have two basic jobs. You gotta let the blood out of the bad guys, and you gotta keep blood in the good guys. A lot of people in this world, tactical preparedness, security, safety, whatever label you wanna throw on it, they like to do the sexy stuff, right? Like they wanna run and gun and shoot and look ripped and put on body armor, and that's only a little bit of what you have to be prepared for. You also have to keep the blood in the good guys, right? The good guys might be your kids. That might be your wife. That might be a police officer as you're driving down the road. That might be just a vehicle collision and there's an amputation and there's just blood pouring out. Do you know what to do?
I'm not asking anybody to go light. We're not training light. We're training for real. You're gonna put real tourniquets on people and get a real tourniquet effect on my instructors. okay? And they will look at you and tell you if your tourniquet is garbage. That's what this class is about, because that's the part that people don't think about. That's the part that kills people, is people don't understand how to manage the situation. It's actually a very liberating feeling to know that if the shit hit the fan, I'd know what to do, or at least I could make use of the things around me. Most people say, oh, I don't want to do that, I don't want to live my life like that. Like living your life not in the know, you're just asking for it. Knowing, that's comfort. That's when you can relax and go, yeah, I got this.
Do you know how to pack a wound? Do you know how to put on a tourniquet? You're like, these are my bags I just came from the airport, and you could open every single one of them to include my carry-on, and you're gonna find multiple tourniquets in every single one of those, and an IFAK in my carry-on. Like you pull out of my carry-on an IFAK and be like, hey, that's handy. I like to do the sexy stuff too. I love to run a gun. I love to fight. But I have the unfortunate experience of knowing what not having the right amount of training and knowledge garners. And that's regret.
If you don't take every one of these elements into consideration, it will be a complete fail. And we're gonna practice this, and you're gonna see how bad this goes, and how bad, because I'm gonna let you do it. I'm gonna let you, and somebody's gonna say, hey, I wanna get the hell out of here. I'm like, all right, let's do it. Load them in a vehicle, let's go. And we're gonna watch it happen. I'm gonna let you try your best to make it as good as you can. And then we're gonna all look at it and go, God, that was a catastrophe.
When I was an 18-year-old kid and I'm rolling up onto that multiple casualty incident and there's bodies everywhere, I had no idea what to do. Tried my damnedest to do the best I could. But looking back, thinking about all the people that died that day, like what could I have done better? And there's a lot. With what I know now, had I known it then, many more lives could have been saved. And that is a testament that has reoccurred over and over again in my life, where like if I knew just a little bit more, what more could have I had done? There's this firefighter paramedic that was my boss with me that night. His name was Tom Way. And I was working on this little girl, not doing any of the right stuff. And he came over, put his hand on me and said, hey Tim, move on, try and find somebody else. And he goes on to save this little girl. I wouldn't have. I was actually convinced through the majority of my adult life that that little girl had died. But Tom came in with experience, with training, with knowledge and equipment, and he saved that little girl. So while we have these visions of this beautiful moment, this heroic moment, like I'm Lancelot coming in to save Camelot, and I'm gonna pull out my gun as that bad guy walks through the door. Like the chances of that are enough that you should be trained and prepared for it. But you might get there a little bit late, right? You might hear the shots and you run in. Do you know what you gotta do? After the threat is neutralized, you gotta save life. You gotta plug every single one of those wounds. You gotta stop all of that flow of blood. Do you know how to do that?
You're putting it in here.
He does not accept it. He fights you. He's like, get that freaking thing out of my face. No.
Hey, everyone shut up.
There you go.
How are we doing over here?
Waiting on AD to analyze.
All right, we need a shot.
Everybody
Stand clear.
Now we're talking.
Deliver shock now. Shock delivered. Begin CPR.
Nice work.
You. I need you to be back up in case he gets tired.
Got it.
So we offer a ton of medical training, not because it's fun, not because it's sexy, it's because it's important and people have to know it. You don't get to have one without the other. You don't get to think you're a gunfighter without knowing how to stop a gunshot wound. You have to know both. We, the people, have power. But the only way we have power is when we are trained, capable, and individually responsible. The same recipe for success for authoritarianism, dictatorships, always begin with eliminating somebody's ability to speak and eliminating somebody's ability to protect themselves. The Second Amendment is no more important than all the other ones, with the one caveat, with the one little nuance that you don't get all the other ones without the second. Right? Like freedom of speech is, man, you can't have America without it. Freedom to assemble. But you don't get that without the right to bear arms, because that's the balance between the people and the government. The people have to have a capability, a trained people, an equipped people. Then the we the people has a little bit of teeth to it. It wasn't like Hitler walked into the ghettos in 1941. It was like, come on guys, we're gonna go gas ya. He had a very slow process that started 10 years before that, where dehumanizing people, limiting their ability to do business, limiting their ability to speak freely, identifying who these outliers are and excommunicating them, isolating them, disarming them. So then they're not even people anymore, right? Now they're just things that we've put into one area. Now I just gotta stick them on a train to move them somewhere else, then move them to a shower without water. But the recipe's always the same. It's you ostracize, you kind of excommunicate, you dehumanize, and then you start limiting their freedoms. And if we historically have seen this happen over and over and over and over again, why would we ever allow that to happen here? We know what happens when the people become useless. We know what happens when the people become powerless. We know what happens when the people become dependent. Well, whatever that thing that they're dependent on wants to happen is what's gonna happen. But you don't get to have a say in it anymore because you no longer have any power. And the right to bear arms is what provides us with that power. Right? It's not like I have a gun, I can protect myself. I have a gun and I have some ammo and I can go be this hard-charging G.I. Joe, Rambo. No, there's this inherent responsibility to be able to know how to use it safely, how to store it safely. And then if I have to use it, when is the right time to use it?
It's combat shooting. I gotta get rounds on target accurately first. You gotta be fast and you gotta be first. Accuracy, accuracy, accuracy. You cannot move to speed until you accurately can engage your target. Tomorrow, we're gonna start introducing moving and shooting. We're gonna move into that OODA loop. Observe, orient, decide, act. I cannot do that stuff unless I'm doing the fundamentals correctly. That makes sense. I'm gonna hammer this home. We gotta do those right.
A trained person with a firearm is an asset. An untrained person with a firearm is a liability. You have to train to be useful with a firearm, period. Not a single person on the Sheepdog Response staff or any of the other people that we work with are gonna sit up there and talk at you. All right, the whole point of the knowledge that we're trying to convey, it's not for you to know, it's for you to be and for you to do. That's a different type of knowledge.
That's classic anti-personnel mind. This picture was taken in Kosovo in 1999. That is what an anti-personnel mine does to your foot. He's bleeding here? Yeah, right from that giant limb that's been blown off. Yeah, that's where the blood's coming from. Where else? That other leg, man, it's hamburger. Who knows what the hell is going on inside that thing? What does this guy need? I'm sorry, say it again? He needs 2 tourniquets. Leave his pants on, give him 2 tourniquets and get him to the show. Let Doc do what he's got to do. How do I know this? Because that's me. I'm the guy starting the IV in this picture.
They have been to the worst places on the planet, doing the worst things imaginable, so they can now come back to us and give us the lessons learned. I don't want someone coming to show somebody how to hold a gun that hasn't not just occupationally held a gun and been in a gunfight, done it for 20 years, but has done it at the highest level, surrounded by the most elite fighters on the planet. Those are the people that we're bringing in, true masters of their craft. It's about taking all of the things that you've done and being able to pass that on.
So the reason I want to be here, the reason that this is important, because I don't ever want to jam myself against cover. Because now what I got to do is step back or extend past. Bad idea. Because if somebody's on the other side of this wall and they get, I'm hosed. If anybody gets a hold of your long gun and you got it slung, you are in a very, very bad situation. Because all they got to do is judo flip. And you're gonna get butt stroked by your own gun in the process. Please don't do it.
The individual responsibility of preserving and protecting themselves and their family, like that's a big choice and that's a big journey. And the end state, man, that's an arduous process and it's not a fun one. You don't get to end with this beautiful hammer forged weapon to be able to preserve and protect human life without the process of forging. And the process of forging is torture,
Get on bottom. You're on bottom, get on top. If you're on top, pass the guard. If you're in side control, move to mount. If you're in mount, control the arms and legs. Isolate those arms. They're gonna be grabbing for guns and knives tomorrow. Rotate! Rotate, rotate, rotate!
Okay, 20 seconds, let's go.
I'm gonna take this piece of metal, I'm gonna stick it in the furnace. It's gonna get really hot, I'm gonna pull it out, and I'm gonna pound out impurities. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna pull it out, then I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna pull it out. I'm gonna hit this one a little bit more for longer, then I'm gonna do it again. That process you're doing to your body, you're doing to your soul, and you're doing to your mind. And that motivation can come from a lot of different areas. Sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's love. Fear for what could happen to your family. Love of your family, knowing that it is your responsibility to protect them. For a lot of people like myself, I had that motivator. That is what I wanted to do. Now I have another one, and it's a less pleasant one. It's regret. It's shame. And it's pain of knowing that I didn't know enough. Like when you know how bad and how wrong it can get and how fast it can get bad and wrong, you can't ever look back at that without, I don't know what to call it. I mean, it's like a knife, it's a stab, it's a joust that goes straight through your soul. And regret doesn't even get to scratch the surface. You know, this isn't like survivor guilt. This is like, I failed them. I failed their family. I failed their dad, their wife, their kids. Had I just known this much more, had I been this much more prepared, had I been this much more trained, had I had this much more equipment. All those things are like this compounding J curve where ultimately there's success, and then somewhere on here, there's a bunch of different degrees of failure. Like you might look at me and be like, man, this guy's kind of intense, this guy's kind of crazy. Well, I have a lot of motivator now because there's a lot of regret, there's a lot of guilt. I still have the love for my family and my friends and knowing that I'm gonna be able to protect them. I still have the fear of failure, but I now have 20 years of failure and the guilt and regret that goes along with that. And that is a compelling force. I've known that this is my purpose. You know, if you do this Venn diagram of all of the different things that I do in my life and you found that center of gravity, right in the middle is this one purpose, this one reason for being. And that is that I like people, I love people, and I hate evil. No help's coming. Americans realize that. And now they're doing something they've never done before, which is started this journey, this process to be able to ensure that their family's safe. That's what I want. I want Americans to have confidence and the individual responsibility and the discipline to know that they can protect themselves and their family.